Hello and welcome back to the Entertainment Vortex. Today we are at Brennan Theaters watching the movie Tully. Now, going into this film, I didn't know a whole lot. I had saw the one trailer basically explaining that Charlize Theron plays a mother, has a couple kids, is pregnant, having another kid, and life is just too overwhelming for her. So she gets a night nanny, someone that comes in at night, takes care of the baby, allowing the mother to sleep, and then the mother gets up in the morning and takes over. That's pretty much all you get from it. And then you get from the trailer, there's a little bit of bonding between the two of them, and you can tell that they are kind of helping the mom as well as the baby. Now, with that being said, I really didn't know what to expect going into this movie. This movie is constantly you in the seat going, wait, what? You're constantly hitting the brakes, going in a different direction, and then you're like, okay, I think I know what's going on. Then they slam on the brakes again, and they're going in another direction. You're constantly trying to adjust to figure out what's going on. The movie cannot be called predictable at all.
So after seeing the first trailer that they released for Tully, I was pretty intrigued to see it. It looked like it was my type of film, you know, has that kind of humor to it, and also kind of has some real and relatable stories that go along with that humor, and that's something that's right in my wheelhouse. Those are the things that I like to see outside of, you know, your big budget superhero films. After actually sitting down and watching this movie, it completely veered from what my expectations were. I was expecting something that was maybe going to be a little more lighthearted, which wasn't necessarily a problem. It was just a different movie. It has this kind of mind-bending theme to it, and I don't necessarily want to dig too deep, because if you want to see this movie, you want to go in as blind as possible. I said to Nick several times during when we were watching this movie that it was like a NASCAR race. Another left turn, another left turn, another left turn. Hey, here's a left turn, send it. So much going on, you start to think that you're getting a grasp, and then left turn. Scrambling again to be like, oh, hey, what's going on with the story? I have no idea. Not, like I said, not something that's a problem. Just not exactly what I was anticipating.
There are positives and negatives to this movie. One of the positives is the acting. Everybody involved in this movie did a phenomenal job acting. If Charlize Theron doesn't get an award nomination of some sort for this one, it will be a crime, because she was amazing. The way she delivers the dialogue, the way she shows vulnerability, the way you really believe she's going through the moment she's going through, it is impeccably done. Mackenzie Davis, who plays the night nurse or the night nanny or whatever it's called, she also does an amazing job. She has this kind of upbeat, flighty characteristic about her, but very wise, and the two of them are on screen together very well. I enjoyed their interaction. And they are the main characters of the movie. The movie is surrounding those two.
This movie does have a lot of positives about it. The way that they use shots and the way that they use cinematography to kind of paint a picture of what's happening is pretty well done. They do a lot with the set pieces to make things seem one way and then seem another way later down the line. It's pretty remarkable considering most of the set piece is in the same place. It all takes place in this one house for the most part. But the way that they use little bits and pieces to kind of change the vibe and change the mood is super interesting. A lot of films run into problems when they have limited set pieces, and this one does a pretty good job of making it work. As Nick stated in his review, the acting performances are absolutely outstanding. This has a pretty large number of well-known actors. You have Charlize Theron, who's obviously very popular. This is completely different than some of her more recent performances. She's been in a lot of larger blockbusters like Mad Max Fury Road and Atomic Blonde, and you know, this is completely different from that. It shows a lot more of her presence and her acting chops. She's great every time she's on screen, but this is a highlight. This is going to be something that she may get some nominations for. I hope she does, but it was a great performance overall. And then we have the indie darling himself, Mark Duplass. He is in this. He's a very minor role, but when he is on screen, he definitely has a presence about him, and I really appreciate his character in just about anything that he's in, because he has a lot of range, and he's, in my opinion, a very underappreciated and underrated actor that's currently working. Like I said, I love everything that he does for the most part. I don't know the names, but the child actors that they got for this film were pretty substantially good. They seem to have, you know, careers in front of them. It was, you know, they both are dealing with, you know, significant issues in their lives, you know, especially considering their mother seems to be going through some kind of a turmoil, dealing with stress and coping with just life in general. They also have little idiosyncrasies that they have to deal with to get through their day-to-day. It's very well presented, and they act it very well.
I will tell you this going in. It starts out, and the movie is pretty uncomfortable to sit through. And the reasoning is because, of course, they're trying to show you why she's overwhelmed, what's happening to her, and why her life is so overwhelming. So you're going to feel it at the beginning of this movie. If you are at all feeling anxiety or feeling stressed out or not in a nice zen moment, this is going to have you shifting around in your seats for probably the first 30 minutes of this movie. And then once everything starts to get rolling, you're just going to, from there, try to figure out exactly what's going on and try to dissect what's happening during the film. But it quickly moves into a whole nother area. And you're kind of trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out how the relationship between the characters is going to grow, and exactly how our main character, Charlize Theron's character, Merlot, I think her name was, how she is going to grow from this and how it's going to end. I will tell you this, not what I expected going in at all.
The storyline itself, like I said, for being something that takes a lot of twists and turns and tries to keep you off the trail, it has its good points and it has its bad points. In my personal opinion, I think that the good points outweigh the bad. It has that ability to, like I said, keep you off of that trail, so you're not necessarily coming up with the plot points before they actually happen on screen, which I appreciate as somebody who tends to run into the plot points earlier on in the films and kind of knows where things are headed, especially if they're really predictable. But this movie doesn't have that problem. It's not predictable in any way, shape, or form. If you find out what's going on before it happens in the movie, you must be paying super good attention, because it, like I said, I was very focused on this movie. It was a very engaging movie, and I felt like I was lost a couple of times, which like I said, I appreciate.
Now, when it comes to the bad part of the movie, there are scenes in the movie where you are just lost. Things will happen and you're just like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, none of it makes sense. There are turns that the movie takes that it takes a while for you to believe this would happen. There are ultimately conclusions they come to that are very, very foggy for me. I understand what they were going for. I understand what they were trying to accomplish. I'm iffy if they accomplished it with what I would call correctly. I feel that it leaves you with more questions than it does answers, and I'm the kind of person that ambiguous type of ending to a movie is not what I care for. With that being said, just the acting chops alone and some of the more emotional scenes in the movie, I feel makes this worth watching. If you watch the trailer and you would all relate to the situation that she's in, or understand and are curious about the situation that character is in and want to know more, this could be a good movie for you. If you are someone that is in that situation, where you have kids, or something else in your life that is causing you to be very overwhelmed, there is some wisdom to be taken from this movie. And there are some lessons to be learned that you can take with you as you leave the theater. With that being said, the uncomfortableness of the first 30 minutes, I would think, is almost enough for some people to walk out. I actually considered it, which I don't do very often because I was shifting in my seat pretty bad. And of course, I look at movies as an entertainment medium. I look to escape into another world, and if that world is going to make me feel uncomfortable and uneasy for 30 minutes, maybe not the world I want to be. You're going to have to take that for what you will, and know yourself and how you react to movies.
The humor in this story is one of the highlights. It takes moments of tension and then adds just a little something to kind of bring you back to that level point. And the banter and the bickering and the little one-liners that Charlize Theron's character has are, like I said, they're very lighthearted, and they kind of take you out of some of the doldrums that you end up in some of these, heavy twists and turns. I really appreciated the humor in this. It was something that made it a more enjoyable experience for me.
So I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I feel that it is impeccably acted. It is mostly well written. There are some choices that were made that kind of bother me, especially the resolution of the movie. Overall, this is a good movie. Not a great movie. It has really strong aspects and weak aspects, but it's definitely worth a watch. I do not think you're going to gain anything specifically by watching it in theaters over watching it at home, but I do think you will gain something by watching it in general.
I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. It's not the best movie that's going to come out this year. We've already seen some movies that are substantial and that are going to stand the test of time. I don't know if Tully will. I think that it'll have more of a following once it comes out on, on demand or Netflix or something along those lines. But it is a movie that is worth watching. Like I said, it's a great character study to watch the arc of this particular character that Charlize Theron plays, and see where it goes from when it starts to when it ends. And some of the things that they do around mental illness are super poignant, and they make a lot of sense. And as I say in a lot of my reviews, representation is a huge deal for me, as it is for many viewers. That's something that this movie shines in, but it does have some of those negative flaws that bring it down. Maybe not something worth seeing in the theaters.
If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We do a minimum of 4 videos a week, including movie reviews, Funko Pop news, and a bunch of gaming content. If you're interested in getting one of our t-shirts, the link is down in the description. And as always, we hope you'll follow us into the Vortex. We'll see you next time.